Hi guys, Nameless Crusader here from the Justice Crew of Oshawa. You might notice that I'm not wearing my usual attire today, and that's because today's video is actually going to be dedicated to the topic of equipment. So in one of our previous videos we covered the topic of gear, which is all of the shin guards, armor, and chest rigs that you wear. But now let's actually get into the things you carry on you that go into the chest rigs and on your belt. Equipment is everything you carry on you while you're out on any mission as a real-life superhero. This includes tools, flashlights, care packages for handouts, and even your wallet and your phone. What you bring with you on a mission determines your capabilities, available resources, and efficiency. The list of things you can consider useful is practically endless, but I'll go over what I personally carry with me, just to give you an idea of a good starting point. Also, keep in mind that as with my other videos, this is intended primarily for Canadian viewers, so the equipment recommendations will be more tamer than our American counterparts, for the reasons I've described before. Different laws, specifically being more strict on self-defense utilities, for example. So before I go into the actual list of equipment that I carry and examples, I'd like to cover some important things to keep in mind when gathering equipment to bring with you on patrol or other mission types. These are very important guidelines to stick to when planning your loadout, as they will increase your efficiency and ease of use. In my off time, I fancy myself a bit of an outdoorsman, so these guidelines mostly come into play for that as well, because while you're out in the bush, you don't want to have crappy equipment that will get lost or break on you. So the first guideline is the age-old adage, 2 is 1, 1 is none. What this means is that when setting up your equipment, pack your tools and utilities with the mindset that everything should have redundancy. If one of your items is damaged, lost, or otherwise put out of commission, you want to have backup for it. For instance, if you have a flashlight, have a backup for it, even if it's something as simple as like a helmet light, like what Aftershock has, or even the LED on your phone. A dollar store LED flashlight is also a good backup plan. Basically, have at least 2 ways to perform a function you'd like to have the capability of while out on a mission. So another important guideline is the concept of multi-use items. Unless it's a primary use item, it's always a good idea to have equipment that has multiple uses. This lets you keep your equipment efficiently small in bulk, which helps you keep the weight and size down, an especially useful thing if you're out on a long patrol. It also assists with the redundancy guideline I mentioned, and a great example of a multi-use item is paracord. It can be used for many things: restraint of the suspect in an emergency citizen's arrest, emergency repairs to equipment, and in extreme circumstances can be used as a sling or even disassembled to use the single strands as emergency stitching. The third guideline I want you to remember is to carry your equipment in a way that is easy to access. It should take you no longer than 3 seconds to be able to access any equipment that you want readily accessible to you. A backpack might have a lot of storage space, but with the time it takes for you to get equipment out of your bag before you can use it is a huge waste of time, incredibly inefficient, and potentially dangerous if time is of the essence. A utility belt, despite the comic book cliche, is actually a very useful starting point for this. The military refers to them as battle belts, and you can usually find them at most online military gear retailers, such as Condor. Even your pockets serve as a good place to store certain things that are small enough to fit. Anything that doesn't need to be readily accessible, such as care packages, caution tape, can be carried in a backpack. This type of equipment I call non-critical. The fourth guideline to follow is reliability. You want things that have a good reputation for being extremely durable, long-lasting, and resilient. You don't want to have to worry about any given item breaking on you at the slightest provocation. For those of you on a budget, it can be sometimes difficult to balance the cost of something versus the reliability of it. But if you have the option, always prioritize reliability. It might cost more upfront, but it'll last you a hell of a lot longer than constantly having to replace cheaper alternatives. Take, for example, my flashlight. It's a solid metal Fenix flashlight and cost me a crazy $80. That sounds like a lot for a flashlight, but I can and have beat the ever-loving crap out of it, and it still works perfectly. Do your research and find out what brand has the best reputation for any particular piece of equipment you're looking for. Or if you're forced to equip yourself on a budget, just be aware of the limitations and durability of what you do get. The last guideline, and a very important one, is to make sure your equipment is 100% legal in the eyes of the law. Because just remember that you're in a mask at night, so what you have on you is held up to a lot higher standard than just a normal citizen walking by. You should not have anything on you that you would give you any reason to fear being searched by the police. And when you do encounter police, you should always volunteer to be searched whenever they talk to you with anything less than friendly chit-chat. Just to cover some basic all-around no-nos in terms of equipment are, first, no weapons of any kind. No tasers, mace, batons, not even any edged utilities of any kind, even if they are carried for benign purposes. I carry several utility knives in my civilian life, but I never carry anything even remotely edged when out as a real-life superhero. Also, no handcuffs or any other device created primarily for restraint. You need a security license for these types of things, and even if you do have one, you can't carry handcuffs and that sort of thing outside of your duties as a security officer. So the third one is no equipment created primarily for criminal uses, even if you have them on you for good purposes. So I'm talking about lockpicks, spray paint, that sort of thing, that you would have not really any legitimate reason to be carrying on you for anything less than criminal purposes, real-life superhero or not. That's just common sense. So now that we've finished looking at some basic equipment selection guidelines, allow me to actually part out the equipment that I carry with me when I'm out on patrol. I don't even need a script for this part, as you should be too, am intimately familiar with my equipment. What I have, why I have it, and where I have it. In my right pocket, I keep my wallet. In my left pocket, I keep my phone. In my rear pocket, I keep my lighter. Lighters are good to have because you never know, you might find yourself in an emergency situation and need to start a fire either for warmth or to cook food. To answer the unspoken question, no, I don't smoke, but I do own a lighter because it is an insanely cheap and incredibly useful item to have. So I also have my keys in my back pocket, same pocket that I have my lighter. I shouldn't have to explain why I have my keys on me. I also have a whistle, so that if you are out in the woods or you see something that requires immediate attention, it lets you get out a quick cry of attention, basically, so that any passerby are alerted to the situation and draws attention to your location. Which can be a huge deterrent for any criminals that you encounter either actively doing something they shouldn't, or if you need to be more easily found. Like I also mentioned, I have my flashlight. I'm just going to do a quick demo here. I'll show you why it's worth $80. So the screen's going to go black because I'm turning my light off. Don't worry too much about that. So it actually has several different light settings. So it's got the lowest setting, medium setting, highest setting, and the intense setting. And as you can see, I'm basically lighting up my room with just my flashlight. It's 680 lumens, runs off of 4 AA batteries, and on the lowest setting lasts for, I think it's like 150 hours. And as I said, it's incredibly durable, so I can literally beat the crap out of it and not have to worry about it breaking on me, because it is solid metal. So I'm just going to turn my light back on here. In addition to that, I also carry a notebook and pen, which is useful for, as I had previously mentioned, just writing down notes for, descriptions of suspects, contact information for witnesses, writing down any details that are fresh in memory, writing down license plates, and contact information. So it doesn't have to be anything big. As you can see, this thing's roughly the size of my hand. Just something tiny and something to write with. Just keep it tucked out of the way. Also, in the same pouch, I carry my caution tape. Now, you see how it's bent? Tape and caution tape, anything that comes on a cardboard tube roll like that, is not to be kept in that shape. As a matter of fact, if I wanted to, I could actually tear out the cardboard inside to save even more space. There's no reason why it has to be kept round, so I usually compress my stuff like this just to save space and have it more packed efficiently. And I do the same thing when I'm out camping with tape that I have. So in addition to that, I also carry a disposable camera. Not anything fancy, but it just lets me take pictures of suspects, license plates, evidence, just anything that I immediately need to be able to grab a camera and take a picture without having to dick around with the UI on my phone. As well, what makes this even more recommended over using your phone as a camera, at least for pictures, is that it's less likely to be considered edited, as it is a analog format. So there's no possible reason that someone could claim that the picture has been photoshopped or whatnot if you have literally the direct negative that the picture comes from. I don't imagine that being an issue ever to most anybody anyways, but you might as well take that extra precaution, because you never know when that 0.1% will come and bite you in the ass. So in addition to that, let's move into my more non-critical stuff that I don't really need direct access to at a moment's notice. Sorry, I got interrupted there briefly. Moving on to my first aid kit. As you can see, it's nothing too fancy. It's just this tiny little thing I picked up at, I believe it was like Canadian Tire or something. It's got some like antiseptic wipes, some bandages, some small medical tape, just some simple stuff for non-traumatic injuries, basically. Just so if you see someone who cuts or scrapes themselves, you have a chance to assist them. Obviously, myself, I'm not medically trained, so I don't really have the need to carry anything more intensive than this. If I find myself in a situation where I need anything more crazy, I will have made the ambulance is on its way. Made sure the ambulance is on its way by then, whether for myself or any victims if necessary. So aside from that, I also have a paracord. A giant wad of it. It's like 100 feet of paracord. Paracord, as I mentioned, is extremely useful. It's also extremely resilient. It can handle the weight of a full-grown man. So if you find yourself down in a ditch or something and need a way to climb out, you can fashion yourself some sort of cheap little hook with a rock or something and use that to climb out, or alternatively descend from a higher position that you otherwise have no way of getting down from. You should try and avoid getting yourself into those situations in the first place, but again, it's always better to be prepared than to not be. As well, this is also where I have my care packages. I'm actually out right now, which is a good thing. It means that I've found people that need them and had a chance to hand them out. I gotta replenish my stash. So, as you can see, equipment is a crucial consideration, no matter the mission type you plan for. Your exact loadout will vary depending on what mission type you do. My particular loadout is geared for patrols, but just think of not only the capabilities you think you'll want, but also the ones you'll need. Think of the fringe scenarios you find yourself in, such as the paracord situation, and what capabilities you'd need. As always, if you'd like to chime in, post in the comment section below, and if you have any ideas for future videos you'd like to see, just let me know. And with that, signing off.